morning, YouTube. I hope you and your students are doing well. We have about 4 or 5 more days until final exams start, and I thought today would be a great day to just kind of catch up with you, tell you what's been going on, and then of course showing you how I'm prepping my students for their final exam. As always, I'm going to take you along for the ride. So this will be kind of more like a vlog feel today, but just to kind of show you what's been going on and update you on some exciting things. And yeah, so what I want to do right now is I want to kind of dive into my to-do list. So every year I have basically like a list that I put right here on my desk, actually right in here. So I have it sitting right here. Obviously it's not there now because I took it and I put it on the wall over there because I wanted to tape it up. But basically it's a to-do list of things that I want to do in May and June, obviously. But one of the reasons why I pick May and June is because after the AP exam is done, my students are working on some independent projects and whatnot. So I have like a running list of things that I want to do. And so one of the things that I'm working on today is actually kind of reprinting some of my station signs. I did reprint them yesterday, and now what I want to do is I want to cut them and laminate them so they can fit inside the picture frames. So I'm going to do that right now before I have duty during my period 1. I just finished with my period 1 duty, and then I just taught my second period class. My honors class is exploring just concepts of acids and bases. We only have time for a couple of days of acids and bases, and I know some of you are like, how do you only do a couple of days? That's just honestly all we have. We spend a lot of the time during the school year with the students just kind of exploring concepts, and naturally, you know, that takes a lot more time than just the chalk and talk approach. It's definitely something that I'm a lot more used to now, obviously after working at this school for about 9 years, but I just have kind of had to come to grips with the fact that we're just not going to get through as much content as we want to. Really the focus of the lesson was the students being able to identify conjugate acid-base pairs, some basic properties of acids and bases. I just use a POGL. I mean, the POGL activity is great. It's right in the POGL book for high school chemistry. After we move from learning about acids and bases, then we'll be going into calculations with acids and bases. I did assign a flipped learning lesson tonight for the students to learn about computations associated with acids and bases, just all the different formulas, right? How to calculate pH, pOH, looking at the water ionization constant. So that'll be like a quick thing. And then when they come in tomorrow, then I'll be spending some time kind of going over that with them and making sure they're comfortable with it. And then that is the end of content. Like that's it. So I always tell the students that we explore these ideas a lot more in AP chemistry. There's a lot more acid and base chemistry going on, but for right now, this is all the time we have. So this is all that we can do. I also wanted to use this prep period to talk a little bit about what's been going on with me. So things are going really well, but I am, of course, struggling to find balance, right? Prioritizing my work here at school and then prioritizing, you know, things with my LLC. So summer is definitely a much needed respite from what's been going on. So I am excited, but I just want you to know I'm still here. Things are fine. It's just that I'm just feeling a little burnt out. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of you watch this channel is because you know that I'm in the classroom. Like I'm still in the trenches with you. I am still a full-time classroom teacher. You know, I'm not a teacher that sits at home and creates resources for teachers, right? I'm actually with the kids and working with them. And then when inspiration strikes, then I create resources to support other teachers and their students. So I know that being in the classroom is really important because I want to obviously maintain some credibility, because I think you're more likely to purchase resources from somebody that's in the classroom as opposed to who's really not. So that's why like teaching usually takes priority like during the school year, but then I spend a lot of time working on my business this summer, and that's kind of the plan. So speaking of, guess what? The teacher prep room is back, unfortunately without Bethany, womp womp. But I've been very busy taking a lot of the content that we've created and putting it now on my site. So now everybody can log in to MsRazz ChemClass LLC via my site, and you can take courses that way. And there's actually a pre-sale going on right now. So if you're thinking like, oh, I want to do some PD, but I don't want to do anything crazy that's going to take a lot of time, definitely check out the teacher prep room. I've got a lot of great courses on there. Unit menus, flip like an expert. I'm doing a new one this year, 10 ways to ditch that worksheet with bonuses. So I'm going to actually probably do closer to 15 ways to ditch that worksheet. But that course and all others are going to be launching June 18th. And so you can buy the courses pre-sale now. And then with the pre-sale, you get a 20% discount. So you can get them at a discount, which is really nice. So I've been very busy creating courses, and I'm very excited to collaborate with you all and talk with you all. I will be offering office hours this year. So if you wanted to collaborate a little bit one-on-one, you will have an option to sign up for office hours. So it should be a really great summer. I look forward to connecting with you. And then of course, I'm always creating, and so I'm excited to be sharing some new resources that I'm making for you, and hopefully you'll be able to try them in your class and love them as much as my students do. But I think they're going to be just a great place for you to start thinking about how can you actively engage your students. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to offer the PD on 10 ways to ditch those worksheets, because I want you to think about ways that you can incorporate students into the learning process and really have them be an active member of, what it means to be learning and reflecting and growing. So at this time, I need to get ready for my next class. And then after that, I will show you a little bit about the stations that I'm doing and the stations that I'm setting up. So as I mentioned, my students have final exams next week. So my one class is doing a station set tomorrow that I created to help them review for the final exam. And I would say hands down, station learning is like one of my most favorite ways to actively engage students. So I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about the different stations that I'll set up and then the materials that go along with it. So I'll see you in a little bit. Just ended my honors classes. I had 2 honors classes. My first class was working on the set of stations, and then my second class we were finishing up our discussion of acids and bases. So now I thought would be an opportunity for me to talk a little bit about the stations and how I am using them to review for the final exam. So I thought I would kind of go around and just like show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you the handout that I used with them. But I find that the students were just so much more engaged by using the stations today. They did a really nice job with them. And so I'm excited to show you what I created. So this is station 1. Every single time I do a station set with a group of students, I always include some safety information. If it's a lab-based type of set of stations, I also try to remind them, goggles on, hair back. My first instruction is always you need to make sure that you read the entire station sign before you get working on the activity. So I wanted to warn the students about HCl and remind them to wash their hands. I have a setup that looks something like this. So the students were exploring the reaction of magnesium and hydrochloric acid. I kept a balance here for the students to be able to measure out their magnesium, and then a waste beaker when they're done. I always include waste beakers for the students to dispose of the contents of their test tubes. This station particularly focused on chemical reactions as relating to redox reactions, looking at energetics involved in a reaction, the mole, and stoichiometry. So I had students, for example, calculate limiting reactant. I had them balance via method of half reaction for redox reactions. So this covered a lot of good chemistry that the students are certainly going to see on the final exam. Station number 2 was another chemical reaction station, but here we were focusing primarily on modeling. So I gave my students a set of sodium hydroxide and copper 2 chloride solutions. They had a test tube, right? And they had to figure out what the precipitate was based on their solubility rules. So they formed copper 2 hydroxide. They had to model this in beakers and draw some particle models. And then I also asked them some questions about whether or not this was a redox reaction. So that was a nice review as well. So they had to kind of remember like, hey, if it doesn't change oxidation state, then it's not a redox reaction. And then just like last time, I have a waste beaker here for the students to use when they're all finished with this station. Station 3 is probably the most simplistic station. There's no chemicals here, but the students were working on a lot of stuff here. So we were looking at bonding, we were looking at types of bonds, sigma and pi. We were looking at Vesper theory, intermolecular forces, periodic trends. Like I said, I'll show you the handout for this one, but this one was really good. It definitely brought back a lot of older concepts that the students haven't reviewed in a while, and it was so simple to set up. This was really a great way to review all that awesome content. And then finally, Station 4 was packed. There was a lot going on here. So here, I used this as an opportunity to work with the models. I love these models. They are amazing. This is just the cup of water model. It's just such a great experience for students. And I have them actually organize the water molecules around the container, and then they kind of shake it so that the molecules attract to the ions, just like you see there. So it starts out with some modeling, so that's why the models are here, and then I instruct the students to move this over to the side, and then they can actually make a solution, and then analyze their solution based on colorimetric analysis. So we reviewed how to make a solution, do a dilution. So this was a great activity too, because the students had the opportunity to review solution stuff, which is often something that students struggle with because it's very math intensive. Here we do dilutions, we do molarity, we even do solution stoichiometry, so there's a lot of stuff that goes back into this unit, but I think they were very successful. And then when they make their solution, they're able to compare it to my solution via colorimetric analysis. So that was kind of nice for them to be able to compare, like, because the solution that they make is colored, how they compare to mine. As far as the supporting papers that go with these activities, I just wanted to kind of show you like the layout and what everything looks like. So this was Station 1. Like I said, this focused on energetics and stoichiometry and reactions. So you can see there's not a whole lot going on here. They just have a bunch of questions to answer. So the actual like lab activity is right up here, and then they have some questions to answer. So that was the magnesium and the hydrochloric acid. This was the chemical reactions, specifically focusing on the double replacement reaction. So here, this is where they drew all their particle models. So they were able to do that here, and then write the balanced molecular complete and net ionic equation for the reaction. And then back here in Station 3, there was a lot in this station. So even though like it was super simple to set up with the molecules, there was so much for them to do. So they had to write the formula, create the Lewis structure, geometry, bond angles, polarity, number of sigma and pi bonds, and then what's the strongest cohesive intermolecular force. And then they had some practice with talking about intermolecular forces, and then some periodic trend stuff. So this was some really good chemistry that the students were working on. And then finally, this back one. So on this back page, this was Station 4. This had a lot of like becoming familiar with the particle pieces in the model. And then down here, we were kind of getting more into like, why are these things attracted to each other, looking at intermolecular forces. And then finally, we got into our dilution computations. And then here, I had them extend it with doing a percent by mass computation. As always, I hope this video was helpful and insightful. I welcome your feedback. And because we have final exams next week, I probably will not be posting a video because we'll be preparing for those and they start midweek. So I think this is going to be my last video of the year, but it was a very successful year. Next year, to my knowledge, I am teaching 2 AP Chems and 2 honors chemistry classes. That could, of course, change, but I believe right now that is what is on my schedule. What's your schedule for next year? What are you teaching? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to know about it. If you're wondering whether or not I'm going to include these stations on my TPT site, I absolutely will. I will leave a comment down below. But I thank you for your attention. I hope you found this a valuable experience, and hey, maybe I'll see you at the teacher prep room this summer. I'd love to have you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend and a wonderful summer, and I look forward to seeing some of you at the teacher prep room.